Hello and welcome to the Respectfully podcast. I'm Nicky Pope, your host for this hairdressing conversation. My guest today is a hairdresser with quite a few other titles to add to his name. Tim Scott Wright is a salon owner. He's a hairdresser behind the chair, educator, team leader, award winner and ambassador for a leading brand, Schwarzkopf Professional. Not only that, he's actually the blonding ambassador for Schwarzkopf, which is going to be one of the key points of our conversation today. Tim, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming along to the studio. Buckle up.
Okay.
I've got a few questions.
Fire away.
So, now we know each other over a long time in the industry, hairdressing. But for a bit of fun this morning, I thought I'd Google, who is Tim Scott Wright?
Oh God, I dread to think what it's coming
No, brilliant. I have to say, the first 2 pages, at least the first 22 entries, were you. There is no other Tim Scott Wright. Now, if I Google other names, good. I get politicians and counsellors and dog groomers and all sorts. So kudos for that, or whoever does your SEO.
Well, there is a bit of an interesting story about that because my surname is Wright. So, and it was Umberto, who I first worked for, that sort of gave me my stage name. Yeah. So the Scott Wright, Scott is my middle name, and then he said that sounds better as a double-barreled name for awards entries and things. So it's
well, he knew what he was talking about. So then I thought I would Google, is Tim Scott Wright blonde? So on the first page,
dumb
again,
sometimes, but maybe not blonde.
Well, it was interesting because again, you dominated the first pages. It didn't tell me whether you were blonde or not, but you still came up as Tim Scott, with the exception of Jennifer Lawrence, who popped in there.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever met her.
No, never.
Oh, okay. So there's no connection.
Unfortunately. She'd be a great client, though.
Okay. So for the benefit of anybody listening, Tim is not blonde. He has a fine head of hair, but it's brunette.
Yeah.
So first question then.
Okay.
What the heck is a blonde ambassador if you're not blonde?
Gosh, the Blonde Me ambassador for Schwarzkopf kind of evolved with my role as an educator. I was doing more and more education with the launch of Blonde Me years ago. And I kind of loved the product line so much that the courses were selling out and I was feeling that, okay, this is really where my niche is. And I love the product. And then Schwarzkopf offered me the Blonde Me ambassadorial role. And I'm so proud of it that I've kind of clung to it.
You weren't not letting it go.
No.
So let's back up the bus a minute. Anybody listening, what are Blonde Me products? I mean, are they literally hair colour? What is it?
Okay, so Schwarzkopf has its own standalone family within its range of colour, which is Blonde Me. All of you hairdressers out there are going to know what Blonde Me bleach is and the 9-level lightener, but it's a standalone family really. So when
it's got the care and the styling products as well.
It's got the care, it's got the styling products, it's got the bleach, it's got the toners, it's got high lifts, it's a whole family of products.
Right.
So it's a standalone family of products which sits within the colour world of Schwarzkopf.
So it's been around for a while?
Yes. Oh God, when did it first launch? I'm going to get the dates wrong here and then they're going to smack my hands for it. But I would say maybe 12 years ago, something like that. Maybe 11, 12 years ago when Blonde Me was properly launched. And I can remember going out to Hamburg when that happened and being super proud with all the other ambassadors for all over Europe and all over the globe that we were launching something and taking it back to the UK to push out
really
to the
focus, because
blondes
is a massive market.
Yeah.
Always, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it always the top colour choice? You know, trends come and go, and coppers.
I'm a firm believer that there is an element of lightening, blonding, within most colours that we do in the salon now. So whether it's a copper, whether it's a brunette, or whether it's your traditional lightening services, there's always an element of lightening that goes on with that. For me personally, as a hair colourist in the salon, if I had you come into me and perhaps you were quite dense copper, I might introduce a little bit of light into the hair before we put the copper over it. So there's always an element of blonding services that are going on within a lot of colour in the salon. So in answer to your question, yes, blonding or lightening is the biggest service.
You think it's the sort of platform for all other shades to come along. So we're having a blonde moment, although as we've just said, these moments continue, but blonde is incredibly popular at the moment, and balayage and all those sort of very consumer friendly and very TikTok-y.
Lived in blonde, balayage.
All the names.
You know, baby, there's a new term for something that comes along what feels weekly to me at the moment, and I have to get my head around that and then work out, okay, what's my take on that to push in my education, but also for what I do on my platform as well.
So there's two questions. So with my sort of hairdressing knowledge head on, the question is, so lightening the hair using bleach or some kind of bleach, I'm not a hairdresser, so forgive if I'm a bit basic in that question, is got to be more damaging for the hair than any other colour?
I think traditionally that would have been so, and a lightening service is still a lightening service. So blonding services are more damaging than what a brunette or a roots coverage would be, but the products have developed so much, and they're so advanced now that, and the bonding technology that's sort of around at the moment, and we're fortunate with Schwarzkopf and especially Blommy that we have that bonding technology built into our colour. Yeah,
so this is a recent thing. So every single product's now got on the pack, you've got the little symbol that says this has got bonding in it.
Exactly.
And bonding, again, for either sort of younger hairdressers or for people not actually hairdressers listening to this, of which I know we do have fans. The bonding is really looking after the health and the structure of the hair. And the
integrity of the hair.
Yeah.
You know, those bonds are broken when you're colouring hair, especially when you're lightening hair, and especially when you're bleaching hair. So the bonding technology that we have built within our bleach and with all our colour it protects the hair. 90% of the bonds are protected with that. It's still a bleach, but it's a real hand holder for you as a colourist. So it sort of opens up a whole world of what you can do with colour now, because you know the hair's protected and the integrity of the hair is going to be looked after, which is wonderful for us as colourists.
And I think it's in the care products as well, isn't it? So that in between appointments.
Amazing, yeah. So you've got all those care products. It's in our toners. It's in anything that is part of Blonde Me. That bond technology is in there. So it's just wonderful. You're not having to mix it in with anything. It's already there. So
brilliant. Yeah. So then moving on to the sort of technique side of it, blonding isn't just a flat all over, peroxide blonde, unless you want it to be. Yeah. The sort of, I don't know, the Debbie Harry or the sort of what we used to see punk.
The blonde icons, as you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the techniques are interesting and time consuming. So which brings me to the second point, as well as the looking after the hair. What about the cost? Because I mean, blonde services have got to be more expensive than other.
Okay, so that brings me on to a whole plateau of what we could talk about here, and half an hour just isn't long enough to do it.
Give me the headlines.
I mean, the traditional structure of price listing or pricing on your price list for blondes would have been a scalp bleach, a T-section of highlights, a full head of highlights, and a half head of highlights.
Yeah.
And I think in the last 5 to 10 years, you could use multiple techniques on someone's head. The introduction of balayage or the actual inspiration of lived-in blonde might be utilising a number of different nooks in there. So pricing now, you can still have those traditional, and I've been hairdressing 31 years, so you still have those traditional pricing brackets on the menu. But for us specifically, when someone's coming in fresh, we always do a consultation and a patch test at the same time and work out what they're doing. And blonding is so much more that I think it has to be priced on what you're delivering on that day.
It can never be a set
price, because you might be doing a root shadow on someone else. You might be doing a mixture of foils, but then sort of lightening out ends with freehand and balayage techniques using a clay lightener. So it's very much bespoke to that client that comes through the door. And I think that's when you have to sort of, work out where the pricing bracket's going to be. But that's how we've sort of saved a lot of money in the salon and capitalised on making the salon busier and more profitable as a result of lightening services that we do without having to shaft the clients, if you like.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, from a consumer point of view, I mean, obviously, times are hard. Yeah. Times are hard on the one hand, and on the other hand, the traditional sort of spend on hair is now being shared out with lots of other beauty services and wellness services. Yeah. So from an industry point of view, you have to kind of fight a bit harder to get it. But I know a lot of people say, I can't afford to come as often, which is, clearly a challenge. So it doesn't have to be expensive to be blonde. You can do lots of techniques.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a lot of clients that are adopting this lived-in blonde look. That's not going anywhere. People are still liking that lived-in look. For so long, people were sort of fighting against their roots. You know, when I'm talking back from when I started hairdressing, certainly, that the minute a bit of root comes in, they want to get it covered. No, they love it. Do you know what I mean? So in between visits, we encourage our stylists to sort of rebook someone sooner than they might have necessarily booked, but that might be for a toner to keep the blonde looking fresh. The new glow toners we've got in Blonde Me are purely acidic, so they lock the cuticle down. They're super shiny. They're great for making, you know, blondes look expensive. So we might book them in for a tone shot. Or if they're feeling they need a bit of brightness, it might be a face frame. So it's maybe a pack of sort of 12 foils just packed in around the hairline, cleverly placed, so that person feels like they've been really refreshed and brightened up. So we're encouraging people to book back in at a regular slot, but maybe for more maintenance services, I would say. Yeah.
And I think the consultation is something that's become increasingly important and understood by the consumer as well, because isn't it interesting how over the last sort of 20 years the consumer, the customer, the client has now learned the language of hair.
Or they think they know it.
Well, I was just going to say, or some of the language. I mean, there's so many different names for the same thing, balayage, root stretch, root shadow, is that the same thing?
Root smudge,
yeah, all of that. And then I know for myself, when people, if I was ever trying to book in somewhere and they were saying how many, is it a half head, and I'd be thinking, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. And you need to, how do I know how many foils I need? Because I've got a lot of hair, fine hair, but a lot of it. So maybe I need more foils than 8 foils. I don't know.
That's why we always say those prices should be on quotation for blondes, because you might not be doing a full head of highlights. You might be just cleverly placing what would be the equivalent of half a head of highlights in a full head of hair. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But you might be then doing a root stretch with another colour, a bit of tipping out, and then definitely a toner afterwards as well. So, but you might not be at the same time. So it's very much personal to that individual. I mean, when I started hairdressing, I don't think we even had toners. We didn't use them. No. So now we have this whole palette of toners, which you can intermix and make it very personal to someone. Yeah. And I think, like you were saying, the consultation is key. People think they know the terminology. I mean, the true meaning of a balayage is freehand painting. Yeah. There shouldn't be any foils, but clients don't know that. They just see what the results of a balayage might be. Yeah. So it's very important to gauge what they mean and to have a clear understanding of where they're coming from inspiration pictures. And
thank God for phones that you can quickly
work. I mean, people are bringing in artificial AI pictures all the time now. And it really infuriates me when hairdressers go, oh, that's AI. Yeah. That's AI. Like, it's unachievable. This is still their inspiration picture. So whether it's AI or not, that's the picture they like. So just help them achieve it. Yeah. I don't see why it's rocket science. I never sort of,
I think that,
tell someone off for having an AI picture.
Don't you think that there's at the moment, such a lot of fear and misunderstanding about AI? I mean, it's such a general term. We've had AI for years. Google is AI, really, and Photoshop is AI. Yeah. This is just another level to it. And I understand where some of the fear comes from. But it's like everything. Understand the fear, face your fear, and then it won't be quite so worrying. It's like, I think hairdressers jump to the fear that AI is going to take away their creativity or, replace them. You're not going to be replaced, but use it as a tool. Use it as a way to interpret things.
I mean, Anthony Mascolo is online on Instagram using AI to create collections for us as inspo, and I absolutely love it. Yeah. So don't be afraid, evolve with it. Yeah. And, if you love what you're doing and you're being creative, then you'll still do that. But I do think there has to be, I think we're going into a grey area in terms of awards pictures and awards shoots with AI. That's somewhere which is a bit of a slippery conversation at the moment for many people.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, people like Anthony Mascolo is brilliant because he always leans into a trend anyway. Yeah. So it's great to sort of have a look and see and try and understand what it is that you're worried about. AI can really help you, going back to what you were saying about business and managing time. Because again, whether it's a blonde service with all those elements or any other colour service, planning your time and trying to understand, how long it's going to take and what you can sort of fit in between and processing times and down times. You can use AI in your booking system to really support that.
I think it's just you've got to lean into it, like you said, and sort of embrace it a little bit and let it help you. Yeah. I mean, there are times that clients are coming in now that have done a whole consultation on their hair before they've come to sit in the chair with you with AI, and they've given you the numbers. Yeah. Of colours that they think that you should be using on
really?
Their hair.
Wow.
And I've gone, okay, well, that's a generic colour, so that's not part of that. And we have to dissect it with them. Yeah. There are clients like that at the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you think somebody else said this to me the other day, that it's almost like the consumer is now as well informed, maybe not always correctly, but they're hungry for the information. They will research things
100%.
massively.
Yeah. So you've got to know your stuff before you sit down and talk to them, because they will try and catch you out. But, you know.
So bringing it back, in your team then, education-wise, will a blonde specialist have had to learn more because there is a bigger range, perhaps, of techniques involved?
With my team, we have a guy. So we have people that specialise in one area. A guy specialist, we have a long hair specialist, we have a bridal specialist, we have colour specialists. I would say there's colour specialists, but they will lean into the blonde aspect of it more because of what I do and what I bring back and educate them with as well.
Right.
So whenever one of my team members come to me and they say, I think I'd like to explore that a little bit further, might be extensions. We had a guy that worked for me who doesn't work for me anymore, but I'm still very good friends with him, who wanted to try his hand at photography. Right. So we did in-salon shoots. I bought him photography equipment. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I'll always lean into that with them and sort of help them to kind of evolve and go forward with their passions as well. Yeah. So if someone's specifically wanting to do blonde specialists, then 100% I will sort of help them to do that, and then we'll put them on the relevant education. Yeah. And then do in-salon promotion. This is why education is so important. You can send them on a course. It might cost you a little bit of money, but when they come back and they've got the knowledge, it enables you to promote them in the salon.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Yes.
I think it's about business, really, isn't it? 100%. And I think, you know, speaking to people in all industries, but hairdressing is the one that's close to our heart, and obviously we're in it. It's about understanding how to build your business, and obviously you can still be as creative and you can be as, you know, people focused and as ever, but you've got to keep business at the heart of it. And I think for a long time that perhaps was sort of not really fundamental to hairdressing. You could sort of...
No, I mean, I think all avenues will trace back for me as a business owner at the moment to Westminster. I've never listened to politics so much as I do at the moment, infuriatingly so at times. But I have to be ahead of what's going to come out. So I'm listening to what's coming out. Are we going to be taxed more on this or that or whatever? And sort of be one step ahead on how we can mitigate that going forward. And I think, like we were talking, we'll go on to the blonding services, I suppose, because that was a real help to me in terms of business, because after the budget from 2024 going into 2025, we sat down with our accountant after that November and we said, how much is this going to cost us? Yeah. She called me back and she said, are you sitting down? Right. And it was 52,000. I've got a team of 12 people.
Right. So that was over the year. That was the extra that was going to go. Yeah.
So yes, you do a price increase, but you can't outprice yourself so much that your clients...
It's another £1,000 a week.
Correct. So I was looking at our traditional pricing structure for blonding services. We looked at what was creating most revenue in the salon, and the service that brought in the most money was blondes. Yeah. Instantly. Yeah. It wasn't rocket science to me. That's what you charge the most for. Obviously, you've got your regular cut and blow dries coming through, but the service that you can capitalise on, which is bespoke and not set, are blonde services. Yeah. And what I'd looked at is all of my youngest colourists thought nothing of charging the minute they put a tone shot on somebody's hair. Right. But my senior staff, my age, because it was sort of ingrained in them, okay, they had a set of highlights, that's the service they've had, cut and blow dry highlights on top, and they weren't charging for tone shots. Right. So I'd gone back historically over 3 different months to have a look, and I thought, I've got a senior team here that aren't charging. The minute that something else is mixed up, it should be charged for. Yeah. And
so it's a mindset, isn't it?
Old-fashioned. Yeah. So then I went forward from the year before, and I thought, if we charge for every single tone shot over that 3-month period and then times that by the year, we would have made an extra 32 grand just on toners. Right. So there was 32,000 out of this 50
wow,
plus.
So that must have been quite a relief realising that.
This is just, I'm not...
And so for the client, you break it down, will they because I think, for me, I do think that will give more hairdressers the confidence, because pricing is almost at the bottom of every conversation, is if you can't price it right, you're not going to make money and you can't afford to run a business.
You've got stylists in there that won't think twice of it, and you've got other people, stylists, and I'm a bugger for it myself as well, because I've run away from the desk as soon as the pricing's coming through. You have to charge your worth. Yeah. And it's took me a long time to sort of get
really
my head
believe
around that.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to my senior team. Listen, we are not doing anything. We're not ripping people off. We're literally charging for what we've done on their hair.
Yeah.
You've used X amount of bleach. You've used another colour to tone it. You've done another root stretch. You have to charge for it. So if a client, after we started charging for these tone shots, was questioning, because it was £21, well, that's a little bit extra. We never sort of said to her, oh, it's because we haven't charged you for tone shots in the past. We just said, okay, so what we've done today is the T-section or half head, or we've done a colour placement here, and then the tone shot, and you break it down for them, they get it. We never had anyone really question it.
Right. So I was going to say, what's been the response?
Yeah. We never had anyone question it, but we saved 32,000 instantly.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, really, hairdressing at the moment often cites bars and restaurants, you know, as a comparable industry because hospitality, that's right. And yet for years they have been itemising their bills. Yeah. So,
right.
And I travelled recently I went to India where they itemise it even more. It even says on my little ticket that you know, whiskey sour that I bought, there's an element of the welfare fund for the waiter to go on holiday.
That, wow.
But they break it down. I mean, they have a lot of taxes, but they did break it down. And I think again here, it's demystifying it and giving, but also not surprising the client. I mean, you don't want to suddenly produce a bill that they weren't expecting. But if you do set expectations, and I think it's really difficult. I'm interested in the idea that you are specialising per se, because again, over the time I've been in hairdressing for the last nearly 30 years myself as a journalist and event producer, the expectations of a hairdresser have grown. You know, expected to have more skills, to, you know, be very inclusive. Quite right too. Every salon should be able to offer all services to all people, but not every person has to be able to do it because there's too much. So you need, and because products have got more complex, and because people's well-being has also been affected. I know a lot of hairdressers are seeing people with hair loss or with, you know, mental anxiety or with allergies that have developed because of the way we live these days.
Dementia's a huge one for me at the moment. Yeah. You know, I've got people aren't shy to know that I've done a set of ladies that I inherited from Umberto before on a Friday.
Your Monday club.
Yeah, well, Friday club.
Oh, is it Friday now? Okay.
So they'll be in the salon today while I'm here with you. Oh. And they've been with me since Umberto passed, and they went to the guy that trained Umberto before Umberto. So those Friday ladies have been there through thick and thin, but there's 2/3 of them now have got dementia.
Right.
So it's adapting the way we work in the salon to accommodate them as well. So there's the inclusivity, which traditionally you've sort of seen from different people, but there's a whole load of ladies which have got dementia now as well.
Yeah, people are living longer.
Look after when they're salon, their sons or their daughters or their husbands are bringing them, because it's been part of their life to come on a Friday every week for such a long time, and that's like one bit of normality. And I've said to them, I've had to educate the staff on how to deal with them. Yeah. So, you know, they might repeat themselves several times. Yeah. You go along and answer the question several times back at them. You know, they might have left them for a colour, and I've got one lady who tries to escape while the colour's on her head because she doesn't realise she's got the colour on her head. So it's being aware of the space that she's in and making sure they're safe when they're in there.
Yeah, you know. Safe and happy, and that it's
100%.
And also educating this team so that they don't feel uncomfortable because, you know, again, it's just, you have to really sort of evolve with it. You've just reminded me, asking for a friend.
Yes.
How do you move from blonde to grey nicely? Because, and more broadly, this is hopefully a big market as well, is the sort of the grey pound. People are getting older and people hopefully are loyal, and blonde clients are perhaps a bit more loyal than some other clients. I don't know. How would you move from blonde to grey?
It depends. Well, moving from blonde to grey is an easier fix than perhaps moving from someone with your hair colour to grey.
Is it?
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So because they're already there.
Need to go back.
They're already on that lighter colour palette to begin with. Yeah. So a lot of work can be done with toning.
Right.
You know, we have such like I said, a wide palette of toners now. To make a grey to sit over a blonde, it can be done with toning initially, and then they'd be coming back in for toners regular, and then you might be introducing a few more highlights in there, and eventually you can grow them out if you want to. Yeah. Some people don't. Some people just maybe want a grey blend, so that will always be within incorporation of highlights and lowlights, rather than a full opaque coverage. Some people want to grow that colour out completely, and that's the sort of journey you'd be on with that. But it's very much toners with lighter base colours. If you've got a full head opaque root coverage, then I would normally send them away. Let that root cover grow out for a couple of months, and then you can work out where the natural grey placement is in the hair. Yeah, right. You can place your blonde in there with it, and then clever toning afterwards as well.
Yeah, because most of us don't go grey in a uniform way, do we? It's kind of like starts at the front and goes
back.
backwards.
I've got someone who actually went completely the other way. She went grey through there and stayed dark around the hairline.
Wow.
Which you know, you sort of like I said, everyone's grey pattern is different. So your sort of placement of colour is crucial when you're blending someone out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And obviously working with integrity and condition of hair, it's much harder when someone's going from dark to grey.
Right.
Much, much harder.
Because you just got to get the grey cut out, the dark cut out, really.
Well, essentially, it would be the easiest way would be to say grow it out. I mean, if someone's very white, but people don't often want to do that. So you're not only trying to lift through dark hair, which always lifts through orange to warm, but you're trying to blend that grey as well. So that's a whole other journey. Yeah, for sure.
So much in there.
Yeah.
So what's the big sort of misconception? You know, people who might be fearful of working with blondes. Let's talk to hairdressers directly now. What if somebody's listening to this going, oh yeah, but you know, there's so much in there and it's so complex. What's the biggest sort of thing that the fear that you can take away from them, encouraging them? Yeah.
People are still worried about using bleach. Because of years ago, like I said, we were working with like high volumes of peroxide, and the bleach would just it was so much more damaging to the hair than what it is now. I can remember rinsing a colour off years ago for someone, and she'd had cap highlights back in the day of cap highlights, bleach and a very high level of peroxide, and these highlights were coming away with the cap. So you're working with people who still have got this mindset.
You still got that awful memory of that.
Yeah. And if anyone's worked years ago, they would. It's ingrained in you, you know. So a bleach is a bleach. But I think the biggest fear is maintaining condition and integrity of the hair for people who are using blondes. Blonding services, and that's what I get when I'm teaching my courses. Yeah. You know, how long has that got to stay on for? Like for a bleach, for example, the new bleaches can stay on for as long as it takes to lift.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it can be on for a long amount of time. There's none of this like it has to come off after 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
Well, has it lifted in that time? Because you can actually use the new bleaches with a very, very low level of developer.
Right.
And I always say low and slow. Like if you're cooking you know,
the best meals.
Right. Low and slow.
Yeah.
Use a low developer. Just let it do its thing. Yeah. It will lift, but the integrity of the hair will stay much better as well. So I think it is condition of the hair. People are more fearful for that. And scalp bleaches, they still shy away from. But I love a scalp bleach. So, yeah. Those iconic blondes that you were talking about at the start.
Yeah. It's still the same icons, isn't it? Who is kind of at the moment?
Gwen Stefani. You've got Gwen Stefani. You have like Lady Gaga who traverses back and forth. Who else am I talking about? Debbie Harry's still my favourite.
Yeah,
so,
Sabrina Carpenter.
Sabrina Carpenter.
That's another big one.
Well, that's that whole LA blonde, which is in at the moment, which is that kind of slightly warmer, a bit more sort of brassy looking, I guess. But I love that. I like the fact we're moving back into that kind of 90s glammy, pammy kind of era with blondes. I love that.
And I think also with the technology, it's made it a lot easier and more accessible for people with different hair types to access blondes as well. So, I mean, black and afro hair types can now more confidently have blonde.
Yes, as long as it's in the right hands, because that lifts very differently to a normal Caucasian set of hair. Yeah. I mean, I'm not an afro specialist. I will do afro, and I have bleached afro hair. Yeah. It tends to go on. I mean, it sort of absorbs everything you put into it.
It's a different hair type, isn't it? That's what you have to remember.
Very easy at the start, but you have to keep your on it because all of a sudden it lifts very quickly and then just goes. So, you know. But I've reached out to numerous afro specialists in the past when I've been doing that for advice. So, you know. But yes, it does give you that confidence to be able to tackle anything if you like. Yeah.
So, the future for. What's the name of your salon?
Well, Scott Wright. The hair surgery. It was an old doctor's surgery, so we kind of kept and it was a doctor's surgery for 50 years, so we kept the hair surgery in the name.
So it is still in the name.
It was still, because everyone knew it was a surgery. Yeah. So it was like, okay, we'll move in there and we'll do that. Yeah. So
Doctor of Hair. So how's the future looking for the business then? Because, you know, it is hard times. You have had to make some tough decisions. We're all kind of like pivoting and hoping. And
it's such a funny time for the hairdressing industry because it's so divisive at the moment through self-employed models and employed salon models. And I'm certainly not going to get into that political argument. Everyone's got their own things going on. I mean, I've got friends who've got self-employed salon models who are being undercut by another salon who are charging 30 quid for a chair. So they're having recruitment problems while we're having tax issues. It's like, you know, I think for me, it's maintaining the standards that we've got. We're still profitable. I'm excitable to train the next generation, although it's becoming increasingly difficult to take apprentices on.
Because of the cost.
Because of the cost. But that's always been in my mantra, you know.
Yeah.
Roberto gave me a fantastic start at life.
Yeah.
I was a kid that grew up in a council house that didn't have a lot. Do you know what I mean? My mum worked very hard for us, but he showed me an industry like no other, which I couldn't have ever imagined the first time I went to the Hairdressing Awards, and I was assisting him in TV and when he opened his London salon. So I've always wanted to give back to the industry. So as long as I can maintain an employed salon model where I'm taking on apprentices and training the next generation, that's important to me.
Yeah.
In terms of the salon, I hope it continues to go and carry on and grow as we are. And I still enjoy being behind the chair.
Yeah.
Although physically sometimes that's not as easy with a bad back and whatever else
it's
these
quite
days.
a physical job, isn't it? It's funny when you're trying to explain it to people, but
and I still love my role with Schwarzkopf. It keeps me out the salon and doing education, and as long as they'll have me, I'll carry on doing it. So, you know.
So you travel with Schwarzkopf to, obviously it's a company that's based in Germany, so I know you do lots of collaborations on developing colours and trends and working with other ambassadors from around the world. Do you find things are different in different countries, or is it?
Sure.
Yeah,
it's always great to work with the other ambassadors though. I've become friends with a lot of them from over Europe over the years. We all have the same. We're all there for a collaborative reason. So they're all the other Blonde Me ambassadors that I work with. It's all in our DNA. And you will find techniques, and sometimes trends will change depending on what country you're in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, if you're talking to the Swedish guys, they're already blonde. So it's like they've got an easy job, but you know,
so it just varies. Oh,
I enjoy that side of it as well.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Well, I can see your big smile from here. So thank you so much. I think that
are we done already?
I think we are. That's our time is up. But
it's gone very quick.
Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you to my guest today, Tim Scott Wright from The Hair Surgery. It was an absolute pleasure learning about all things blonde and hairdressing business. If you liked what you heard, then please visit our library of podcasts going back 8 years. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Acast, and many other podcast platforms. Until next time, goodbye.